Welcome everyone and welcome to a new show I like to be calling Stretch the Mind. So hopefully what this show is going to be a show about pretty much, it'll be a bit more of a personal show because it'll be me speaking stuff that I've been thinking about, usually stuff that happens globally, and the idea is that I will sort of, hopefully talk about the situation or whatever I'm thinking of in a neutral way to get you guys to think about it and develop your own opinions on it from what you receive neutrally. The reason I'm doing this, because the first subject we'll be talking about is news and media outlets that tell you things that will persuade your opinions, because the people who are writing them and making them tend to input their own beliefs and views onto it. They don't really convey the story in a neutral way. So yeah, hopefully that's what I'll be able to achieve, is to give you guys a neutral way of viewing things, and yeah, we'll see how we go. So yeah, of course the topic of the discussion is going to be media outlets. So yeah, let's talk about media outlets then. Media outlets, and I shouldn't call them outlets, news stations also, when they tell you a story such as Jerry went to the shop and he was ripped off by the shop, so he called us at, blah 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 station, and we decided to go in and ask the shop about what's going on. Sometimes they can make the story sound like we went in there and the store is a very bad person, and that's what they'll make you feel, is that they'll get everyone who watches the story start thinking that the shop is a bad person, which isn't technically which isn't what you should be doing. When you convey a story, you need to understand why people are doing things from their own perspective. So if the shop was ripping Jerry off to make more money, then we would understand that the shop is still the bad guy. But if the shop did it because, I don't know, because Jerry just wanted to make money off them, the item wasn't actually broken, and the shop's just trying to say, no, we can't take back something that's fully functional, and you just want money in return, then that's wrong on Jerry's behalf. But the audience will never know that, because sometimes media outlets can never be bothered to search that far. And that example is just a minor example. When they're talking about global issues, it can become a really bad issue. It can make us all think differently about other countries and the way we view their government and how they run things. So more or less what I'm trying to say is, when you watch a news story, you can't be caught up in the way they are telling you the story. You gotta really understand why the bad guy, quotation marks, why they are doing what they're doing. And it's more or less, you got to do that in pretty much all situations. You got to understand why this bad guy or the other person is doing what they're doing. And once you figure out why they're doing that, then you can make the right judgment on who is in the wrong. Sometimes it'll still be medium, and usually when you find out both perspectives of the story, you realize both of these people were just dumb, and they're both kind of correct and they're both kind of wrong. And when you sort of realize that, then those people who are in that issue will realize that also, and they'll just get over it. The problem with talking about this kind of thing is that you do tend to input your own sort of opinion, and it's hard for news stations to talk about a story and not convey some opinion. Like, it's not like they mean it, but it just happens. Which is a bit of a question. Like, there's so many different groups of people out there who think in different ways. Like, there's so many people who could be easily manipulated, but then again, there's so many people who will always just go against the flow no matter what. So it's kind of hard when you, let me put it this way, if everyone had their own opinions and beliefs, then we would be kind of in this chaotic world where everyone thinks they're right and they refuse to acknowledge who's doing the right and who's doing the wrong. Then again, you could get everyone on the same page. You could just tell everyone, like, hey, see this story about racism? You know, racism is bad. Let's all stand up together and fight racism. You can't do that kind of thing if everyone just has these weird radical beliefs, which is sometimes what I feel like news stations try and do, but it's still on the verge of being wrong. I can't, you can't, it's hard to see, it's hard to say, talk about stories and not input your own belief. What I'm trying to say is, be willing to admit when you're wrong, because you might be one of these people who have your beliefs and you cannot change your way whatsoever. If you don't admit you're wrong, then you'll never learn anything in life. You'll just be arrogant forever. So yeah, like I was saying, this show is mainly just for you to watch it and then sort of step back a bit, develop your own opinions on what's happening. Hopefully you can talk a bit, like, you know, it's just a way of like sort of getting things out of your head, really. I mean, you sort of say your piece and then you kind of just move on, really. Yeah, news shows, all these media outlets, you can't really trust because they all have their own opinions. Even the most unlikely person you would think of would have their own sort of opinions and beliefs. So yeah, thank you for listening to the first show of Stretch the Mind. I'll probably be back again. And don't trust the government. It's run by lizards.